Today we are looking at the absolute dumpster fire that is HighGuard. This game managed to lose 80% of its player base in exactly 24 hours. That is not a launch, that is a mass exodus. It turns out the only thing faster than the high-octane combat the developers promised is the speed at which the entire internet hit the uninstall button. Yes, this is a real human narration, not an AI, and if you think otherwise, report to your nearest toaster for re-education. This is the gaming equivalent of throwing a party and having the guests jump out. HighGuard launched with the kind of confidence you usually only see in people who have never failed a day in their lives. By the second day, the servers were essentially digital ghost towns. Losing 4/5 of your audience in a single day is a statistical marvel. It suggests that the players didn't just dislike the game, they felt a physical need to remove it from their hard drives. We are watching a live service game attempt to survive without the service or the live part. It is circling the drain so fast, it's creating a localized vortex on Steam. The data suggests a catastrophic failure of retention. When a title loses 80% of its concurrent users within the first 24-hour cycle, it indicates a fundamental disconnect between the marketing promise and the mechanical reality. This is not a slow burn or a niche appeal. It is a total rejection. In the current market, players have no patience for potential when the baseline experience is fundamentally broken. You are seeing a game that was built for a market that doesn't exist, served to people who already have better options. The reality of these server numbers is staggering. We aren't just talking about a drop-off from a peak. We are talking about a total abandonment of the ecosystem. If you look at the charts, it's a vertical line straight into the dirt. Most games have a tail, this game has a guillotine. The live aspect of this service is essentially a heart monitor flatlining in real time. While most developers dream of that blue overwhelmingly positive text on their Steam page, HighGuard decided to sprint in the opposite direction. It earned a mostly negative badge within hours. That red text isn't just a rating, it's a giant neon warning sign, telling anyone with a working credit card to run for their lives. The reviews aren't just complaints about bugs, they are manifestos of disappointment. Players are reporting that the game feels less like a finished product, and more like a social experiment to see how much boredom a human being can endure. Statistically, mostly negative on Steam is a death sentence. It means that over 70% of the people who actually spent money on your product feel actively insulted by it. This isn't review bombing by angry mobs, it's a collection of funeral orations from people who wanted to like the game, but couldn't find a single reason to stay. The feedback loops are broken. The progression is non-existent. The technical state is offensive. The mostly negative tag serves as a permanent scar on the store page that no amount of PR spin can fix. It's the ultimate metric of consumer dissatisfaction. If you're a casual viewer looking for something to play this weekend, that red text is the only review you actually need to read. We have reached a point in the industry where live service is basically code for dead on arrival. HighGuard is currently doing a speedrun of the Concorde disaster. Critics and streamers are literally racing to capture footage before the servers are sold for scrap metal. You can't call it a live service if the service dies before the first weekend is over. It's a bold strategy to release a multiplayer-only game where the primary gameplay loop consists of standing in an empty lobby, wondering where your life went wrong. The industry is currently obsessed with the forever game model, but they keep forgetting that for a game to last forever, it has to be fun for 5 minutes first. HighGuard fails the 5-minute test. It's chasing a trend that died 3 years ago. By the time they finished development, the world had moved on, leaving them with a hollow shell of a product that no one asked for. Watching the server counts is like watching a countdown timer for a demolition. There is no recovery from this. There is no No Man's Sky redemption arc here, because there is no foundation to build upon. It's just an empty lobby, and a dream that turned into a tax write-off. If you're still in the queue, you're not waiting for a match, you're attending a wake. The developers bragged about the map size, which is roughly the size of a small European nation. The problem is that there is absolutely nothing to do in it. Imagine a map the size of France, where you can only find 3 other players. It isn't a tactical shooter, it's a lonely hiking simulator with the occasional gun. You spend 40 minutes running across a field, only to be disconnected or shot by someone you never saw. It's a walking simulator for people who find Death Stranding too action-packed. This is the classic bigger is better fallacy. They focused on scale at the expense of density. A massive map means nothing if 99% of it is empty grass and reused assets. You spend more time managing your stamina bar than you do engaging in combat. It's a design philosophy that prioritizes screenshots over gameplay. In a multiplayer environment, distance is the enemy of engagement. By spreading the players so thin, the developers have ensured that the primary emotion felt by the player is isolation. It feels like an accidental survival game, where the only thing you're surviving is the urge to turn the game off. This isn't a world, it's a wasteland. The game tries to do everything. It has magic guns, rideable bears, and massive sieges. Usually when you put all those ingredients in a blender, you get something interesting. HighGuard managed to turn that mixture into a flavorless grey sludge. It is impressively bland. Watching paint dry is unironically more engaging because at least the paint has the decency to change its state of matter. The mechanics don't synergize, they just collide into a mess of why am I doing this. When you try to cater to every demographic, you end up appealing to none of them. The shooter mechanics are floaty, the magic system is cumbersome, and the bear riding is a glitchy nightmare. It's a jack of all trades, master of none situation, but the jack part is being very generous. It feels like a game designed by a committee that only communicated via post-it notes. The lack of a cohesive identity is the final nail in the coffin. You can't be a hardcore tactical shooter and a whimsical fantasy RPG at the same time without a level of polish that this game clearly lacks. Instead of a genre-bending masterpiece, we got a genre-confused disaster. It's the gaming equivalent of a buffet, where all the food has been sitting under a heat lamp for 3 days. Nothing says intense shooter like being forced by a merchant to go mine rare earth metals. If I wanted a job, I would go to an actual mine, where I at least get health insurance. Requiring players to perform manual labor just to buy basic gear is a move designed by people who hate fun. It's a grind fest that forgets the game part of the equation. You aren't a legendary warrior, you're an unpaid intern for a digital blacksmith who hates you. The inclusion of tedious gathering mechanics in a competitive shooter is a baffling design choice. It slows the pacing to a crawl and forces players into a repetitive loop that offers zero dopamine. You aren't playing to win, you're playing to earn the right to play. It's a predatory respect for the player's time, or rather a complete lack of it. This grind isn't content, it's a barrier. It's an artificial way to inflate playtimes for shareholders who only care about engagement metrics. But players aren't stupid. They know when they're being put to work, and they've clearly decided that the salary of zero fun isn't worth the effort. If I wanted to hit rocks with a pickaxe, I'd play Minecraft. At least there I can actually build something. Then we have the technical genius of forced motion blur. The developers seemingly decided that the graphics were so offensive, they needed to be hidden behind a layer of Vaseline. You can't turn it off. The entire screen looks like a windshield during a hurricane. It's a bold choice to make your game give the audience actual physical nausea. Maybe the motion blur is there to hide the fact that there isn't a player base, or maybe it's just a way to make the 80% player drop look like a stylized artistic choice. Motion blur is the makeup of the gaming world. It's supposed to hide imperfections, but when you apply it with a fire hose, it just looks hideous. The fact that there isn't a toggle for this in 2026 is an insult to basic UI design. It's visually exhausting to play. After 30 minutes, you don't want a victory, you want an Advil and a dark room. It's possible the blur is masking aggressive asset streaming issues, but that doesn't make it any better for the end user. If your game requires the player to lose their peripheral vision just to maintain a stable frame rate, your game isn't finished. It's a technical mess masquerading as an aesthetic, and the player's eyes are paying the price. The marketing push the made by industry veterans angle hard. At this point, that phrase is a massive red flag. It usually means people who remember how to build a game engine, but completely forgot how to make a game fun. They are stuck in 2015, trying to chase trends that have already been dead for 5 years. Being a veteran doesn't matter if you're trying to sell a horse and buggy to people who want a rocket ship. Experience is only valuable if it evolves. Many of these veteran studios are filled with people who haven't played a modern game in a decade. They are building games based on outdated monetization models and archaic design tropes. They think a battle pass and a large map are all you need to print money. The industry has moved on. The audience has moved on. HighGuard feels like a relic of a corporate era where you could just throw enough money at a project and force it to be successful. That era is over. Now you actually have to deliver a product that people enjoy. Veteran status doesn't give you a pass on basic quality control. While the actual players are fleeing in terror, some gaming outlets are still trying to claim this is the best shooter in years. It's a fascinating look at the disconnect between corporate journalism and reality. In the world of access media, best is clearly a synonym for we are terrified of losing our early access keys. The cope is real, and it's embarrassing. They are describing a masterpiece, while the Steam charts show a flatline. This is the fundamental problem with modern gaming journalism. If you're too honest, you lose access. If you're too positive, you lose credibility. Most have chosen the latter. They are praising the brave artistic direction and ambitious scale, while ignoring the fact that the game is fundamentally unplayable for the average consumer. When the reviews from professionals are a 9 of 10, and the user reviews are a 2 of 10, the gap isn't a matter of opinion, it's a matter of integrity. The audience can see through the fluff. They can see the empty servers and the broken mechanics. No amount of flowery prose can fix a game that people simply do not want to play. The internet's consensus is pretty clear: whoever hyped this up as the next big thing needs a career change. This is Realm Royale 2.0, but it lacks the charm, the personality, and the players. It's a clinical, corporate attempt to manufacture a hit that resulted in a spectacular failure. If you were thinking about buying this, do yourself a favor, go outside, stare at a rock for 3 hours, and keep your money. You'll have a more rewarding experience. The marketing campaign was a masterclass in deception. They showed cinematic trailers that bore zero resemblance to the actual gameplay. They paid influencers to pretend they were having fun in a desert of boredom. The failure of HighGuard is a warning to the rest of the industry. You cannot manufacture hype for a hollow product. You cannot rely on veterans to save a broken concept. And you certainly cannot expect players to stick around for a service that offers them nothing but work and motion sickness. If you haven't bought it yet, congratulations, you've already won.